Hello, welcome back to Boot Camp and the next step on your Start 1K journey. So today we're still in the marketing section, and today we're going to talk about content. So we're going to cover what content is, why it's important, where we can use it, different types of content, different sources of content, how we can make content easy to read, and we're going to look at the layout, and also some inspiration for new content for your own marketing. So just get straight into it. So first of all, content. What is content? And I try to put it in its most simplest terms. So content is the stuff you say about your business to your audience. So typically when you think about content, you think about social media posts, but you can also use it on your website, newsletters, blog posts, lead magnets. Anywhere where you are talking to your audience, you can use content. And why is it important? It's important because there is so much competition out there at the minute. Good content will captivate our audience and keep them reading. So content goes hand in hand with design, and we've got another session on design. So what I always say is design will grab their attention. The visual element of design will grab their attention, and content keeps them interested. So it's very, very important to engage with your audience. So number one rule about content, it's absolutely got nothing to do with you. So take yourself back to dream customer. It's not about you or your business. It's about what you can do for your customer, what problem you solve. So take yourself back to dream customer. It's about the customer's goals, their worries, their concerns, and how we can help them. So you must always keep that in mind. If you start just talking about yourself, people will get bored, I'm afraid. So content sources, types of content. 4 different types of content, and what they advise is a balance, an 80-20 balance. So we've got promotional content is at the top. So that is your typical sales post. So, this is my business and I sell X. That's a promotional piece of content. Now you've got 3 other types of content. You've got informative content. So this is something that your customer will find very informative, but it's not salesy. You've got free valuable content, which is something you give away for free to your customer that they would find valuable. So that takes us back to lead magnets. And we've also got engagement content. So they are posts who are trying to get likes and comments and shares to build up engagement on that post. So I'm going to give you an example of each. A promotional piece of content, I'm going to go with a dog boarder. The promotional piece of content might be, I am a dog boarder in Durham and he's a happy dog on their holiday with me last month. Informative content might be, are you looking to buy a puppy, or have you recently bought a puppy? Here are some tips on house training your puppy. The free valuable content, a download might be, the first 10 weeks of owning a puppy. Here's a download, everything you need to know, everything you need to train them on, something free for my customer to download and use. And then the engagement content might be, win a 1-night free holiday for your dog if you like and share this post and tag 10 dog mums that you know. So there are 4 different types of content. Now this balance, this 80-20 balance is 20% promotional content, 80% everything else. Now that really freaks a lot of business owners out, because we are all out there trying to sell our business. But what the idea around this is, instead of being a pushy salesperson, sale post, you are starting to become someone of interest to that potential audience. So we're going to show them that we really know what we're talking about, that we're knowledgeable in our industry, and we do that through informative content, free valuable content. So bear it in mind. Now, this next section is about sources of content. So a lot of people sit and look at a blank bit of paper and is totally stuck. It doesn't always have to come from you. So I'm going to go through some options here. So the pink one, curation. This is content that has been created by somebody else, but it's somebody who's going to be relevant to your audience, but not direct competition with you. So, for example, the dog boarder might share their local vet's post on keeping your dog calm on fireworks night. So that's a piece of content created by someone else that the dog boarder could share. I would absolutely recommend tagging the vet. So, Front Street Vets, great advice, thank you very much. Then your audience will see it, their audience will see it. They're not in competition with you, but it's absolutely of interest to your audience. So that's the first one, curation, content created by someone else. So start to think about who else do you know who's relevant to your customers, who's not direct competition, who you could share their information and it would be of value to your audience. So the blue one, contribution, this is where you join forces with another. So this could be the dog boarder approaching the vet and asking if they would like to do a podcast or an interview or something like that, where you do a bit of a collaboration. So it's got to be mutually beneficial. So you're going to benefit from contribution from another, but they would also need to benefit from you. So the dog boarder could say to the vet, I've got 5,000 followers. I would love to share. I would love to get you on board. And obviously the vet knows there's 5,000 people there who've got dogs. So that's contribution. Conception, this is the one what kind of panics people. This is created by you. So this is literally where you're staring at a blank bit of paper and it can be very off-putting. So I'm here to give you some inspiration. Now there's a download available with much more, many more points on it. So I'm just going to go through a few of these. So these are some kind of points, some ideas for some inspiration for your content. So, pardon me. So the first one, frequently asked questions. This one's gold. So you could kind of put together a bit of a list of the 3, 4, 5 top questions that your customers tend to ask you, and you could turn the answer into a post. So you know that that's something that your audience wants to know. And if you give them that answer, that's like not going to take you much effort to put that post together or that piece of content together. You could look at a success story of someone that you've helped, tag them, you know. You could recommend a business that you've used who were great, relevant to your audience, but again, not in direct competition with you. You could do pictures of your work process or your workspace. You know, say I'm busy working on this today. You could share your customers' posts. You could share something informative you found on Facebook. So those are just a few tips. Now, like I said, there's a download with many, many more on there. So have a little look through there for some inspiration on what types of content you could do for your business that aren't all sales posts. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the layout of the content and how the content is spaced out. So this text here, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm just using it to show you. On the left-hand side, we've got a clunky chunk of text. And immediately you put off even starting to read it. So scientifically, humans do not like to read big chunks of text like that. So on the right-hand side, I broke it down a little bit. I put some paragraphs in there, a header in there, bullet points. Now that is the same amount of text. It's exactly the same text as the one on the left. But because I've spaced it out, it makes it more inviting to read. So spacing it out like that, don't do big chunks of text. Here's 2 examples of some posts that were just big chunks of text. So apologies to these 2 businesses. I mean, look at this one especially. It's a big chunk of text. It does not look inviting to read. It has got some really informative content in there, but it just does not look inviting to read, and people will skim past that. So if you remember when I was talking about Facebook, when someone is scrolling through Facebook, you've got 3 seconds to grab their attention. They are just going to continue scrolling if they see something like that. So that's on about spacing out the content. Now, another thing to think about when we're talking about spacing out the content is something called above the fold. So this is it's a bit of an old-fashioned term, but it is still relevant today. So if you imagine back in the day where we used to go and get newspapers, if you imagine how the newspapers are folded up on the shelves, what you can see above the fold is what's going to entice you to buy that newspaper. So that was prime spot. That was prime position for, you know, a juicy story to grab the reader's attention. So above the fold, it's above that fold on the newspaper. Now, this still applies today. So it applies to websites, social media posts. If you think about what you're looking at on your phone, the first piece of information that you see before you have to click read more, that is above the fold. So it's very, very important to remember this, that section that the customer is going to see as they're scrolling, and we need to get the juicy detail in there. So I've got a little bit of a slide here about the structure of the content. So if you think about when you're writing your post, the first line is going to be a hook or a headline. So it's something that's going to hook your customer in, something that's going to grab their attention. It could be a question. It should stand on its own. It should be, you know, clear to see. And again, above the fold, so your customer's going to see that first. So let's stick with the dog border, and their post might be, you know, are you going back to work? Are you worried about leaving your dog when you go back to work? So that question there is going to really hook them in, and they're going to think, yes, I'm worried about going back to work and leaving my dog. So hook or a headline first, and then leave a space. Remember about spacing it out. And then the next bit is going to be the detail. So the detail of what it is that you're talking about. So remember, hierarchy of content, that is that above the fold. So the important information at the top. So you're going to put the detail in there. Remember to talk to your customers' worries and concerns as well. Don't talk about yourself. So that's the detail. And then at the end, what you need is a strong call to action. So if you remember a few weeks back, we did call to action. So a call to action is the next step you want your customer to take. So let's say this is a Facebook post. So they're going to see this post on Facebook. You've stopped them from scrolling. You've got a hook. You've got the detail. They're interested. What do they do next? What do you want them to do next? And so that's a call to action. And the strong, it must be blatantly obvious what you want them to do next. You know, point some finger emojis at it, make it really stand out, make it totally obvious what they need to do next. And that's going to finish off your piece of content there. So I've got a little bit of a content checklist. So we've got the headline or the hook at the top. Then we've got the hierarchy, the above the fold, all the important information at the top. You need to think about brand voice and what everybody knows what branding is, your logo, your color scheme, how your Facebook page looks the same as your flyer, looks the same as your business card, looks the same as your van. But there's also such a thing as a brand voice. So it's what you want your brand to sound like. Do you want to be serious and professional, or do you want to be fun and friendly? So think about your brand voice. And it should also always be aimed at your customer, their worries and their concerns, and the emotions tied to those worries and concerns. They're also very, very important. Call to action, like I've said, it's got to be absolutely obvious what you want them to do next and easy for them. Now on the right hand side here, we've got some more points. So it's got to be easy and inviting to read. So we're talking about breaking up that text, not a big chunk of text. White space is good. It creates order. So don't feel like you have to fill in all the white space. We need short sentences. Emojis, make it a little bit fun and break it up a little bit better. If you want to, you don't have to. Spelling and grammar, I cannot tell you how important that is, because no matter how long you've worked on this content and how good it is and how good the design is, if you've made a spelling mistake, they will annihilate you. So please, please, please check your spelling and grammar, and no jargon. So what you'll find is in your day-to-day life, you will use jargon and you're just used to it, but your customer does not know your jargon. So please avoid using jargon in your content. And then just a reminder at the bottom, that balance 20% sales, 80% everything else. So it's up to you now, over to you. So I would like you to have a little go. Even let's just come up with 5 ideas of content, what you can use for your business. So we'll have one sales post and see if you can come up with some ideas for the other types of posts. And then why not have a go at writing it? If you can get the headline or the hook, the detail, the call to action, if you do one post, that will be amazing. So have a little go, share it in the group for some feedback. Any questions, if you're not quite sure, if you're a bit unsteady, please share in the group and we'll be there to help you. And yeah, good luck, have fun with it, and I'll see you on the next session.